We had moved to the old farmhouse in northern Vermont to escape the chaos of city life. My wife Julia was pregnant, and we wanted peace, open skies, and somewhere we could raise a child far from car horns and skyscrapers. The house, with its wraparound porch and thick forest in the back, felt like something out of a novel. We bought it on the spot. The first few days were idyllic. Crisp October air, leaves turning gold and crimson. We spent our mornings unpacking, our evenings wrapped in blankets with mugs of cider. But everything changed on the third night. It was precisely 3:33 a.m. when the knocking started. 3 soft, deliberate taps on the front door. I woke up immediately. Something about the sound didn't sit right. It wasn't frantic. It wasn't the wind. It was intentional. I nudged Julia awake, but she mumbled and turned over. Curious, I got out of bed and padded down the wooden stairs. The boards creaked under my feet, echoing through the silent house. When I reached the front door and opened it, I found nothing. No wind, no footsteps in the frost-dusted porch. Just silence. I chalked it up to an animal or maybe a branch. But the next night, at exactly 3:33, the knocks came again. This time I waited. I sat in the living room with all the lights off, staring at the door. I held my phone in my hand, recording, just in case. Right on time, 3 knocks. I jumped up and swung the door open. Still nothing. But as I turned to shut the door, something caught my eye. A shape just beyond the tree line. Pale, small. I froze. A little girl. She was maybe 7 or 8, standing barefoot in the cold, wearing a white dress that fluttered slightly despite the still air. Her hair was long and pitch black, hanging forward and covering her face. She didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there. "Hey," I called out. "Are you lost?" No answer. I stepped forward, but the moment I did, she tilted her head, just slightly. Then, as if swallowed by the dark, she was gone. Julia didn't believe me. "You're just stressed," she said, "or maybe dreaming." So I set up a security camera on the porch. The third night I stayed up again. 3:33, 3 knocks. I ran to the monitor. Nothing. No figure, no girl. The camera footage showed only an empty porch. But when I listened to the audio, I heard something. A whisper, faint, high-pitched. "Let me in." I brought in a local priest. He listened politely, inspected the house, and sprinkled holy water. "There's nothing here but shadows," he said, "but I'll leave you a cross." The knocking stopped, for a while. Then came the 7th night. This time the knocks didn't come from the front door. They came from the back. The rear door was bolted. It led to the forest. I stood frozen, Julia beside me, both of us listening as the knocks echoed again, deliberate and slow. We didn't open the door. At dawn, I checked the outside. There were footprints in the frost, small, bare. That evening, Julia told me she'd started hearing whispers. In the hallway, in the bathroom, a voice repeating her name. The next night, the knocks came again, this time from the window in the nursery. We hadn't even finished setting up the room. The crib was still in pieces, but when we entered the nursery, the window was wide open, the curtains billowing like breath. And on the wall, written in dust, were 3 words: "Let her in." I wanted to leave, but Julia refused. "This is our home," she said. "We can't run from everything." That night, she dreamed of the girl. Said she was standing at the foot of our bed, whispering in a language she didn't understand. I contacted the realtor. She sounded surprised. "There was never any mention of anything unusual," she said, then hesitated. "Although one previous owner did pass away unexpectedly. A little girl. Tuberculosis. Early 1900s, I dug into the local records. Found a single black and white photo. Grainy but unmistakable. The same long hair. Same white dress. Her name was Eliza. She had died in that house in what was now the nursery. Her grave was barely half a mile into the woods. I went there. I don't know why. Maybe to pay respects. Maybe to make it stop. The grave was small and cracked. I left flowers and whispered, "You're not forgotten." That night there were no knocks, no whispers. We dared to hope. But at 3:33 a.m., we both awoke to the sound of something moving downstairs. Not footsteps, dragging, like something heavy being pulled. I crept out of bed, flashlight in hand. The living room lights flickered, then died. The dragging sound grew louder. In the hallway, written across the mirror in crimson letters, "She's inside," Julia screamed. We fled that night, haven't returned. I tried to report it, but who would believe me? Weeks later, I got a text from a new number. "She's knocking again.